Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Pali Summer Intensive Part 2 on behalf of Buddhist Association of the United States, the Chuanyan Monastery in Carmel, New York, and the Wuju Memorial Library. I'm Stephen Sas, and I'm very happy to be with you here in this Zoom room to talk about Pali grammar. And we've been doing the Gare and Karuna Tilaka textbook. We are currently in the third lesson, chapter 3, and we're just finishing up the initial readings, and we're going to be spending time today on the further readings, and I hope it was fun for you to prepare them for today. What I thought I would do first is to do a quick review of the third part of the initial readings. Have one more revisiting. Let me share my screen. So, this is a reading from the Anguttara Nikaya Book of Twos about abandoning the unwholesome or the unskillful. And somebody raised a question about syntax, which I thought was very interesting. I'm afraid I don't remember who it was, but it was a good question. And I thought about it, and I think I could talk to it a little bit. So let's look here. So I've put in the brackets the sort of setup question, which here is akusalang bhikkhave pajahata, sakha bhikkhave akusalang pajahitung. So, O monks, abandon the unwholesome. It could be also translated as the unskillful. And then we have this special word, sakha. It is possible, which goes with the infinitive form of the verb. So the infinitive form of pajahati is pajahitung. Notice that ung suffix. It is possible, and we translate it just as we would in English. It is possible, O monks, to abandon the unwholesome. And so here we have our relative and demonstrative clauses. I'll read it quickly. Yasmachako bhikkhave sakha akusalang pajahitung tasmahang evang vadami akusalang bhikkhave pajahata. So here we have yasmachako, and so we might translate that like, and since, O monks, it is possible to abandon the unwholesome, tasma ahang, which should be broken up into tasma, which completes the yasma, plus ahang, that's the personal pronoun, first person, I. Thus, therefore, I say thus. And here we have this quote, akusalang bhikkhave pajahata ti. So just a quick mention of this T thing and this quote in the middle of a paragraph or a teaching. Now, note this is not indicating that we're now switching to a different speaker, but it's what's called sometimes direct speech. And even in English, we have direct speech and indirect speech. But in Sanskrit and Pali, as far as I understand, we have only really direct speech. Things are not really expressed in indirect speech, at least not very much. So what does that mean? Well, in direct speech, that is when things are expressed directly, they're expressed as sort of quotes, sort of like a line in a play. And that's why it's expressed as written down with the T quote marker and the quote marks, inverted commas. And so here it says, monks, abandon the unwholesome. And he does this as a declaration. And so just to give a quick example of how that might work just in regular old English. So if you suppose that Regina was sitting at her desk one day in the morning and she thought to herself, well, I should study Pali more. So that's idea that is expressed as sort of like a thought bubble above her head, like in a comic strip. I should study Pali more. that is a direct speech. That's like a quote, although she's thinking it to herself. And now another way that that whole story might be said would be in indirect speech, which we can do in English, which would perhaps be something more like, and Regina was sitting at her desk in the morning and thought that she should study Pali more. So it's not really a quote. In fact, I thought of this other way that we could express direct speech in a very informal, hipster way in English, at least in America, or at least maybe in New York. So I could say, well, I was talking to Regina and I was like, man, Pali is such a great language. And so the Pali is such a great language is direct speech, as opposed to saying, I was talking to Regina and I told her that Pali is such a great language. There, it's not a quote. So that is a lot of what this quote T thing means. And that is how ideas are expressed for the most part in Pali. And so that's why these three words are in this quote. It's not like we're switching over now to another speaker, but this is the way the Buddha is recorded as expressing himself. So I hope that is helpful. So now we go on to the question, or the sentence, which I found a little challenging last session, and I kind of struggled a little bit to do it in a very literal way. And so first I'll express this, or I'll translate in a very literal way, which might not be the maybe best way, because it comes out, I think, a little awkward in English sounding. So here we have akusalang chahidang bhikkhave pahinang ahitaya dukkhaya sangvateya. Maybe we'll stop there for this clause. So this clause is governed in a sense by the optative form of the verb sangvateya. That is the optative form of the verb sangvatati, leads to, and it gives us this hypothetical feel. Not necessarily a truthful statement. It's sort of like a possibility. And so I might start with the ch and use if, because I'm trying to express the optative here. So, and if, and now I would take the subject of the sentence to be akusalang, the neuter nominative, and I would say that it is being described by the adjective pahinang, abandoned, the abandoned, unwholesome. It's in fact the past participle of that same verb pajahati. But as we've said, participles very often function as adjectives. And then we have matching in the neuter idang. So that is this, or the, in the neuter nominative to go with these two words. So putting that together, so if the abandoned unwholesome would lead to harm and suffering, but that's a little bit awkward. If the abandoned unwholesome sounds a little bit awkward in English, and somebody had an interesting suggestion that in fact one could take pahinang as the subject, although it really needs to be taken as a present participle, not a past participle, because we could say if this, that would be idang pahinang, abandoning of the unwholesome. Now that would give a kusalang, in fact, a rather genitive quality, not really a nominative. But that sounds better in English. I might mention that the real present participle, or the actual present participle of pajahati, just for practice, is pajahang. I'll write that out. This would be actually the so-called short form. So that would be the present participle. And but it's okay sometimes to translate a past participle as a present participle. And in fact, I looked up Venerable Bodhi's translation of this very sentence, and he translated it as it was suggested, not in the literal way I did. And so I wrote down that he has, if this abandoning of the wholesome would lead to harm and suffering. So that is just a quick way of kind of clarifying the grammar and also showing that sometimes to make things work nicely in English, we can't translate fully literally because it just sounds kind of weird. So I hope that clears up that question. And then we can go on. Nahang evang vadeyang. I would not say. Again, na plus ahang, vadeyang, optative, would say thus evang. Akusalang bhikkhave pajahata. So then the rest is basically the same. So I hope this clears up any questions about this reading, if there were any. I could ask quickly if there are any questions specific to the initial readings, lesson 3 initial readings. This would be the time to ask as we are moving on. No questions at all. Okay, I'm glad it's clear. That's great. So then, without further ado, we could move to the further readings, which we did start briefly, because I wanted to end on a rather more positive note, because we had covered the 3 unwholesome roots, and now we're going to cover the opposites, the wholesome. And notice that, as we've spoken about a few times already in this class, the Buddha often will express the wholesome form or the positive form as a negative. And so lobha, greed, is being expressed as a negative thing, non-greed. And it's sort of up to the translator to choose whether that translator would like to express it in that way, in that sort of Pali way, or just substitute another positive English word, which we have plenty. And of course we do have plenty in Pali too, so it's a sort of a characteristic of the Pali canon that it's done this way. I don't really know the answer why the Buddha is thought to have expressed himself in this manner, but it is interesting, I would say. And we covered this one, so I'll just go through it very quickly, and then we'll have some people to volunteer for the next few. And so here we have this very common way of expressing a question to someone else. And in fact, I should say, I don't think in this sutta, the Buddha is not the interlocutor. It's a different person. I have to be clear. I don't believe the Buddha himself is asking this question or undergoing this line of questioning. But here we have tung king manyata, which we can translate as, what do you think about this? And we have sala, that's the vocative, this person, a man. Ati alobo, is there non-greed, or does non-greed exist? So that's our sort of more existential form of the verb to be, ati alobo. Evang bante, yes sir. And then we have this kind of group of similar words, which is another common Pali occurrence where we have a whole bunch of synonyms. And as English speakers, at least, we often can struggle to come up with enough different English words to kind of express all those different Pali words. Pali is very rich in this regard. So an anabija is a noun. It means non-greediness or non-covetousness. So ahang etam atang vadami. So literally that means I say the meaning of this is anabija, is non-greediness. Of course, he's referring to alobo. Another way this might be translated is I call it anabija. But etam atang literally means the meaning of this. And now we have aludo, this with ayang, so that's our very close pointing demonstrative pronoun. Ayang aludo, this non-greedy one, salha, and he's further described as anabijalu, is not covetous. Covetous is not covetous. And then we have our standard kind of precepts thing when he doesn't do. So we've covered that already. And so now I'd like to see a show of hands. I'm sure we're going to have people breaking down the doors for doing the next few. Okay, we can start with Jillian, if you're there.
I'm here.
Great. Can you read, say, the first few sentences? Let's see.
From
Tung King Manyata Ati Adoso.
time around, gotcha. Tung King Manyata Salha Ati Amohoti.
No, that you skipped the whole section. Ati Adoso.
My layout, it's easily done. I'm back up. Yeah. Tung Kim Manati Salha Ati Adosoti.
Yeah.
A1 Bante.
What does that mean?
You want me to read on? Oh, right. Okay. What do you think, Salha? Does non-hatred exist? Yes, Bante.
Right. So here the T is not only expressing a kind of quote, but it's also showing that we are switching speakers, and that we, of course, are tipped off by the next line having the Bante. So we're talking backwards.
Yeah. I
So
noticed that.
Sorry?
Bante. I noticed that after each Bante, there's no T. I guess it's obvious because it's in the vocative.
It's not the locative, it's the vocative.
Oh, I said vocative.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, I'm not sure why there's a T there. It's a good point. Evang Bante. We don't ever see it after Bante for some reason. But why don't you go on and do the next sentence?
Okay. Abhyapadoti Kawaman Sala Etamatha Vadami.
Etam atang vadami, right.
Etam matang Vadami.
No, I'm sorry, but I think you might be parsing it. It's etung and utung, not eta mutung. You see what I mean?
No, etung. How do you want me to pronounce it?
Well, it's actually two words, etung, and then the
It's
next
a
word is
demonstrative
utung.
pronoun and the accusative of atung.
Yeah. Etung,
Yeah.
utung.
Etung, atung.
Just so you're clear about how that compound is formed, that's all.
I am cognitively, but I'm not pronouncing it correctly.
Etung, utung. Maybe I'm parsing it. Maybe I'm being too picky. I apologize.
No, it's good. I like it. Thank you. Anyway, he says, indeed, Sala, I call it malevolence.
Ah, nice. Okay, very good. All right, thank you. We're going to go to the next participant, and we can have Huang.
Hello.
Hi. Can you read for us then from Aduto?
Sure. Aduto ko ayang salha abyapanachito neva panang hanati na adinang adiyati na paradarang gachati na musa banati parampi na tatataya samadapiti yangsa hoti digaratang hitaya sukhayati evang bante.
Okay, excellent. What does that mean in English?
That means I say the meaning salha.
I think you're one sentence too early.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Aduto. So the person who's is not hate.
Yes, the one without hate. Right.
Yeah, without hatred. I say this salha.
Well, what is ayang? Just this ayang.
The I.
No, it's not I.
Ayang.
It's you're thinking of ahang. The pronoun
yeah.
ahang means I, but ayang, it sounds a similar way, but it actually means this.
Yeah. This.
Yes.
Yeah. This person.
Good.
Yeah. Who is not hated. So they non ill will.
Yes.
They don't. Yeah. They don't take. They don't kill.
Right.
Life.
Yes.
And they don't take what is not given,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't commit adultery.
Yes.
They don't tell lie,
Yes.
and it will bring them for a long life of um, uh, of welfare and happiness.
Very good. Very good.
Yes, very
Yes.
venerable.
That's right. Exactly right. I would just say Diga Ratang is not really a long life. It just means more
Long
generally
time,
a long
sorry,
time.
long time. Yeah,
Very good. Thank you very much. Great job.
you're very welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, now we can go on to the next sentence. So we can try Ken.
Tangking manyata saha ati amohoti
Mm-hmm.
evam bante. So what do you think, Saha? Does non-confusion exist? Yes, Bante.
Good. Okay, we'll do one more sentence.
Vijati ko aham saha etam atam vadami
Mm-hmm.
amuho ko
Wait, let's do that translation first, please.
Saha, I say that it means wisdom.
Right. Very good. Okay. Now we'll try someone else to do the next sentence if that's okay. Okay, let's try Fiacra.
Thank you. Great. Amulo ko ayang salha vijagato neva panyang hanati na adinang adiati na paradarang gachati na musa banati parampi na tatayas sama dapeti yangsa hoti digaratang hitaya sukaya ti.
Yes. Right. Okay, so start translating, please, from Amulo ko ayang.
Okay, so this so the one who is not deluded or not confused.
Right, so that's ayang as opposed to right above it ahang. So we have to keep those straight, as you did. Very good.
Great, yeah. Okay, so vijagato, and never. So never panyang hanati is so he does not take a life.
Yes, but how are you translating vijagato?
Vijagato, and I'm drawing a blank. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. So vija is like the opposite of avija, which I'm sure you've heard the word.
Oh yes. Sorry. Yes, it's the one who knows. Yes, I get
right. So literally, because of this, gato is actually part of gachati. It's the past participle. It literally has the sense, and we could translate it that way, as one who has arrived at true knowledge.
One who has arrived at true knowledge. Okay.
Yes.
Hey, yes, great. Yes. Sorry.
Sometimes vija is translated as wisdom, but the problem with that, just this is sort of an aside, is, if you're a translator and you've translated vijja as wisdom, what do you do with panya, which also is wisdom? So I know that's why
Okay.
Venerable Bodhi has chosen true knowledge for vijja, to kind of differentiate them out.
Sorry, yes, great, yeah. So great. So the one who has attained to true knowledge, never panyang hanati, does not take a life, and then na adinang adiati, he does not take that which is not given.
Yes.
Yeah. Then so then we go na paradanang gachati. So the once again, I'm sorry, I'm not.
So tell me, what is gachati? Just tell me that.
Gachati is to go. Okay.
And
yes.
what is it? Do you remember what the dara is? It's a wife.
Oh yeah. So the dara. Oh yes, of course. So this is, he does not go into his neighbor's wife. Yes.
Yes, or maybe we can say also possibly does not commit adultery.
Does not commit adultery. That's right. Yeah. So and then na musa banati. The so that's the actually the.
It's sort of like musavada, if you've heard that. It means doesn't speak falsehood.
Oh yes, of course, yes. He does not speak falsehood.
And I'll tell you this next one because it's a little unfair because it wasn't in our textbook. I just added it because it was omitted, but it's parampina tat ataya samadapeti. So it means one does not cause others to do the same.
To do the same thing.
It literally means it doesn't bring others to that state.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, let's go on.
Okay, yeah. So Yangsa Hoti Digaratang Hitaya Sukayati.
Good. And tell me, please, how do we fill in the blank for Yangsa? What is missing in that apostrophe?
So it's Essa, is it? Is that right?
Asa.
Asa, yes, Asa.
And what is asa?
So Asa is one of our pronouns, one of our demonstrative pronouns, is it?
Yes.
And
but here it's functioning as a personal pronoun, but you are correct.
Okay. So to the one who has this, it's like a genitive, is it? So
Maybe dative, I would say.
dative. Okay, so to the one, yes, of course, yes. So to the one, so hoti being the it's like in this case it would be it shall become. Is that right?
Or it is.
It is, yes, it is. And then this is digaratang is long lasting. Hitaya, this is the result. Sukaya, the benevolent result or the pleasant result.
Yeah, I wouldn't really say hitaya as a result. It's more like a benefit.
Benefit. Okay, yes.
And what case are hitaya and sukaya in those words?
Hitaya, Sukaya, those are in the dative.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good. Okay, good. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll just read a little bit here, but keep your hands up because we have a lot more coming. So thank you. So we have Tangkin Manyata Salha, Ime Dhamma Kusalava Akusalava. So what do you think about this, Salha? Ime Dhamma. So here we have a plural to go with Dhamma, because these things, these qualities, Kusalava Akusala. We have to insert the verb to be here, because we don't necessarily need it in Pali, but we do need it in English. So what do you think about this, Salha? Are these qualities wholesome or unwholesome? Of course, we're talking about the three we just spoke about, the three positive ones, alobo, adoso, and amoho. The answer comes kusala, bante, wholesome. Savajava, unavajavati, blameworthy or blameless. So here I have to say, because the question was raised, and I wasn't quite sure of how this should be parsed out. And so I did say I didn't quite know, and I did look it up. And so it's sa plus, the word is avaja, and then it's unavaja. And so it could be slightly confusing because this prefix sa, which we had, I think, explained in a grammar section in a prior chapter, is a different sa. But this sa, which these two A's kind of join forces and become one big A, has the sense of with. It's sort of like saha. Remember saha or sudding, saha? So with avaja or unavaja. So this is the negated form. And since we can't really have these two A's lying next to each other, we need this consonant to help the pronunciation. So that's the answer to that. Vinyu garhitava or vinyu pasatava. Condemned by the wise or praised by the wise? Praised by the wise, Venerable Sir. Okay, let's go on. Then we have this new section. That was sort of a repeat for us. And I've sort of explained below what these words mean. Some atta and some adina. So sung plus, I have it here on my screen, sung plus a deity, and the past participle would be some, so that would be to take, so taken up. That would be a very literal meaning. It could also mean grasped. And samadina could be something like embraced or accepted. So we have here accepted or taken up and accepted. They lead to benefit and happiness, or welfare and happiness. Nova. So here that's kind of an idiomatic thing, or not. That's almost like very easy to read. Then I put in this sort of little bit of an extra credit piece, katangva etahoti ti, just because I kind of, it's there and I kind of like it. And it literally means, or, that's the va, how is it in this case? Or how is it in this case? Literally, but it's idiomatic, and so it has the sense of, or how is it for you? Or how does it appear to you? Like, do you agree? So that's katangva eta hoti ti. It's a direct speech. And the answer comes, as it often is, as a kind of quote, a repeat of exactly what the first person said. But this is the response, and we are tipped off by the fact that we have Bante here to show that this is a different speaker. Samata Bante, Samadina, Hitaya Sukhaya Sangvantanti. Right? So grasped and accepted, they lead to happiness and welfare. And then there's this other little bit. Don't worry about these little bits if they seem overwhelming. It's just tempting because they're actually lying there in the sutta. Evang no etahoti. Thus it appears to us. In other words, we agree. So the no is to us, which is a short form of amhakang. We haven't had all the personal pronouns yet, and so don't worry about it. But that's a sort of a mini preview. Okay. Any questions so far? It's a little hard to tell because I know there are a lot of hands up. So maybe we'll just keep going and I'll ask for questions a little later. Let me just talk about this. There's a little bit of a complicated sentence, so I'll do it first. So I'll read first here. Yada tumhe sala atana atanava janeyata ime dhamma kusala, ime dhamma unavaja, ime dhamma vinyupasata, ime dhamma samata samadina, digaratang hitaya sukhaya sangvatanti ti atta tumhe salha upasampaja vihareyatati. So here we have yada tumhe. So when you all, salha. So notice there's a little bit of that mismatch that we spoke about earlier, where we have a second person plural pronoun, although it appears as if we're speaking to one person. But that's how it is. And so attanava is sort of a word that means by yourself. It's related to the word atta, the self. But the word atta, or the atman, doesn't always mean atman in this kind of philosophical, existential sense. It often just means personally, in a kind of more mundane way. And we have our optative here, janeyata. So that's janati in the optative, second person plural. So when you all, salha, know for yourself, in other words, when you personally understand this, that these dhammas are wholesome, these dhammas are blameless, these dhammas are praised by the wise, and these dhammas, samatha, so that is a grasped, samadhina, put into effect or accepted. And then we have our same phrase, digaratang hitaya sukhaya, lead to happiness and benefit for a long time. And then we have attatumhe salha upasampaja vihareyata. This is a little idiomatic. So atta is then, tumhe is you all, salha the vocative, and then we have upasampaja, which is in fact a type of absolutive. I have this below. It's an absolutive of upasampajati. It's the ya type, which we did talk briefly about in Pali Primer. And in chapter 4 of our book, we're going to have it again. So don't worry if it seems vague in your mind. But the absolutive forms of verbs are often translated as having done this, having done that. And here it means having taken them up, having taken up. And the next one is expressed in the optative, you should, you should dwell. So literally it says here, when you have done all this, atta tumhe, then all of you, having taken them up, should dwell. Which sounds a little weird, doesn't it? But that's what the Pali says, but we can't really translate the Pali that way because no one will have any idea what we're talking about. It still sounds like we're speaking in a foreign language. So that's often translated as, you should live in accordance with them. But literally it says, having taken them up, you should dwell. And I think you probably, if you think about it for a moment, see that correspondence. Okay, so that's that sutta. And then I think without further ado, we can move into our second readings. So I'm going to start, now I'll start calling on people because this is very much a repeat of chapter 1. Catherine, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Great. Can you read for us number 21? Unless you had a question.
Sorry?
Did you have a question about anything? Otherwise, you can read starting at number
No,
21.
I'm reading.
Okay, good.
21. Nahang bikawe anyang ekadamapi samanupasami yam eva abavitang akamaniyam hoti yata yidang bikawe chitang. Chitang bikawe abavitang akamaniyam hoti te.
Good. So tell me a bit
Nahang
what
is
that means.
not I.
Yes.
Okay. Nahang not I. Bikawe once. Anyang ekadampi is the one thing. Upami, I know is I do not see or I do not perceive, O monks, even one other thing which when undeveloped, abavitang, undeveloped,
Undeveloped. Right.
lazy.
I'm
Can
sorry.
it be lazy? Akamaniyang.
Uh,
Akamaniyang. Can it be, the meaning is lazy?
lazy.
Lazy
Not
or sluggish
really.
or inactive?
It literally means unwieldy,
Okay.
like you can't work.
Unwieldy,
It-
okay.
I
When
would think unwieldy is
undeveloped
best.
is unwieldy as the
Mm.
mind, monks. The mind, monks, when undeveloped is unwieldy.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you. So let me just review that. We have here two words that are right next to each other, but they go with different things. And so we have to make sure we translate them the right way. So that's why I've put in orange on my screen Anyam ekadamang and abhavitang. So I don't perceive any other thing that when I've chosen when instead of thus for the Avon, seems a little better. Uncultivated, and then I go to the verb, hoti, is akamaniyang, unwieldy, as the mind. And so then it's easier to grasp as the second sentence, chitang abhavitang. So this is the adjective. It's based on the verb bhaveti, which we've had, but it's functioning now as an adjective and it's negated. So the undeveloped or the uncultivated mind is unkamaniyang, unwieldy. So this word is related to the word kama, which means an action or a work, even a deed. But it was put together with the rest. Akamaniyang, it means fit to work or workable, but it's negated, so it's unworkable, not fit to work or unwieldy. Okay, then let's try another person. Jim?
Hi, Stephen.
Hi, can you do number 23, please? Yeah. Or maybe we're up to 22, I'm sorry.
Okay, 22. Naham bikave anyam ekadamampi samanupasami yam evam pavitam kamaniam hoti yatayidam bikave chitam. Chitam bikave pavitam kamaniam hoti.
Good.
So, monks, I don't perceive one single thing that when developed
Good.
is workable
Good.
as the mind.
Very good.
The mind, monks, the developed mind, monks, is workable.
Very good. Very good word order. Thank you. Okay. Let's try now Hui Lin.
Hi.
Hi. Can you do for us 23, please?
Nahang bikaway anyang eka damampi samanu pasami yam evang abavitang mahato anataya samwatati yatayidang bikaway chitang. Do I continue? Oh, sorry.
Sure, you can read the next sentence.
Chitang bikaway, excuse me. Abavitang mahato anataya samvatati ti.
Yes.
So I've got it down as I do not, monks, perceive or see any other thing which, when undeveloped, leads to great. I've got a little bit of issue with anataya. So it's not for the purpose or advantage of welfare or gain a sense of purpose. So could I put it as harm?
Yes, that's good.
Okay. That is the same amongst the mind. And the mind monks, when undeveloped, leads to great harm.
Very good. And just tell me, please, what case is Mahato Anataya? Those words, what cases are those in?
Mahato, I think that would be nominative.
No, they're both in the same case, if that's a hint.
Oh, dative.
They're both dative. Yes, that's right. So
Thank you.
Mahato is confusing perhaps because it's from a different group of nouns, which are like the Mahant. So it's a little bit like Bhagavato, Mahato, but it's a dative. But we haven't fully covered that, so just sort of take my word for it, perhaps.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Okay, and we have Linda.
Yes, hi, Stephen.
Hello. Would you
Hello.
mind, please, doing 24?
Yes. Nahang bhikkhave anyang ekadhammampi samanupassami yang ewang bhavitang mahato attaya sangvattati yatha idang bhikkhave cittang. Cittang bhikkhave bhavitang mahato attaya sangvattati.
Yes.
So I think nahang is I don't I don't perceive any other one thing
Yes.
that does leads to the Mahato is the help please. Mahato is the
great great benefit.
Great, yes, to the great benefit, Attaya's benefit, to the great benefit, that is to say the mind. The
Yes.
mind, O monk, leads to the great benefit.
Yes, the cultivated mind leads to great benefit.
Yes,
very good.
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Okay, and moving on, I think we have Sudhakar Reddy. Are you there?
Yeah.
Great. Would you please do 25?
Nahang bhikkhave anyang ekadammampi samanupassami yang evang abhavitang apatu bhutang mahato anattaya samvattati yatha idang bhikkhave cittang. Cittang bhikkhave abhavitang apatu bhutang mahato anattaya samvattati. Nahang, not I, O bhikkhus, the other one Dhamma Samanupassami, do not see. Yang evang abhavitang, certainly abhavitang.
What is abhavitang in English, could we say?
Bhavitang is the opposite of abhavitang, not cultivated.
Yes.
I don't know the meaning of this. Apatu bhutang.
Yeah, that's the strange one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So patu bhuta has the sense of become manifest, which is kind of a weird word. And it has, I would say, I would just explain it. It means it's not brought into its full potential or full being, in a sense. That's related to the root bu, like bhavati. So it's not made into its full potential, we can say.
Yeah. So mahato anattaya, leading to the great anatta.
Which is what?
Atta is the beneficial, anatta means not beneficial.
That's right.
Samvattati leads to yatha idang.
Namely, we can say.
Namely, bhikkhave, O bhikkhus, chittang. Chittang is the one dhamma that leads to, when not cultivated, to this unbeneficial end.
Right. Good. So the mind, amongst uncultivated and not brought to its full potential, leads to great harm. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And now we have Pat for 26, please.
Okay, nahang bhikkhave anyang ekadamam pi samanupasami yang evang bhavitang patubhutang mahato attaya samvattati yatayidang or yatayidang bhikkhave chitam. So I do not, monks, perceive any other thing which evang bhavitang patubhutang. Let's see, so bhavit.
It's the
Bhavitang
positive
there is
version of this prior one.
Right, so it's having come to its full potential.
That would be patu bhutang, yes. And bhavitang is probably something like cultivated.
Okay, or having, so to, I guess together, does that mean that they, oh no, the bhavitang is going to go with chitang, isn't it? So, or, yeah, so,
I'm not sure what you mean, but so
sorry,
I do not perceive any other one thing that thus uncultivated and not brought into full potential leads to great advantage.
Yeah.
Namely,
Samvattati.
yes, and go from yataidang. How do we translate that?
That is to say, was
Yes.
one translation I've seen, bhikkhave chitang.
Yes, and do the next one.
Chitang bhikkhave bhavitang patubhutang mahato attaya samvattati.
Yes.
So the mind, O monks, when cultivated and brought to full potential, leads to great benefit.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Christopher. Can you do 27?
Okay, there's a word I don't know, but I'll get to it. Naham bhikkhave anyam ekadamampi samanupasami yam evam abhavitam abahulikatam mahato anataya samvatati yata idam bhikkhave chitam. Chitam bhikkhave abhavitam abahulikatam mahato anataya samvatati ti.
Yes. Okay. Sorry.
Okay, so O monks, I do not perceive any other thing which, when uncultivated, so I don't know this one.
Abahulikatam.
Something like many connections, not many connections, or
No, well, I'm trying to look it up in our glossary, but the literal sense is katang, which is to make, and bahu is like much or a lot.
Yeah.
And so it has the literal sense of making much of, and it's negated, so it's very similar to cultivate. Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to look for another word.
Uncultivated.
It says here, practiced frequently, exercised or expanded. Mm-hmm. But the literal sense, just so you understand the word, it's bahu, which is much, and bahuli, and then katang, made. So made much of, mm-hmm. and whatever you choose from that list to translate, okay, which was practiced frequently, exercised, or expanded.
So it's the opposite. It's not expanded.
Yes, that's correct.
Let's see, leads to great, is it
anataya, harm?
Great harm. That is to say, O monks, the mind.
Good.
The mind, O monks, when uncultivated, it's this concept again of it's not made much of.
Made good, that's fine.
It's not made good and leads to great harm.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have a couple more. We have Lim.
Hi, Stephen.
Hello. Yeah. Could you do for us 28?
Sure. Naham bhikkhave anyang ekadhamampi sammanupasami yang evang bhavitang bahulikatang mahato attaya samvattati yatha idang bhikkhave chitam Chittang bhikkhave bhavitang bahulikatang mahato attaya samvattatiti. So nahang, I don't monks, I don't perceive one thing, that when bhavitang develop, bahulikatang make much of,
Okay.
leads to mahato attaya, great benefit.
Good.
Samvattati, namely, that is to say, amongst the mind.
Right.
So the mind monks, when developed and made much of, leads to great benefit.
Excellent. Thank you. And now we have one more. I think, no, two more. So we have Bonita. Are you there?
Yes. Hear me, Stuart?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
Would you do 29, please?
29. Naham bhikkhave anyang ekadamamampi samanupassami yang evang abhavitang abahulikatang dukkadivahang hoti yatadiyang bhikkhave chittang. Chittam bhikkhave abhavitang abahulikatang dukkadivahang hoti ti.
Yes, very good.
So I translated it as 29. Monks, I do not perceive any other thing that when undeveloped and not frequently practiced,
Good.
leads to such great suffering as does the mind.
Very nice. So dukkha plus adivahang means bringing. I mean, adivahang means bringing and dukkha. And so just as you said, very nice. And so please, the next sentence.
Yeah.
Chittang bhikkhave.
Chittam bhikkhave, yeah. Monks, an undeveloped and not frequently practiced mind leads to great suffering.
Yes. I mean, we don't have sangvatati there as the leads to, but I think we could translate it that way. It's just simply three adjectives modifying the neuter chittang, but that's fine. And I like your choices of translation. Excellent.
Thank you so much, Stephen.
Very welcome. Okay, maybe we don't have any more hands. Maybe Diane would like to do number 30. Are you there?
I am here.
It's our extra credit one. It wasn't in the book, but it seems obvious that we should have ending on a positive note.
Naham bhikkhave anyam ekadamampi samanupasami yam evam bhavitam bahulikatang sukha divaham hoti yataidam bhikkhave chitam bhikkhave bhavitam bahulikatang sukha divaham hoti. So I don't, O monks, perceive another single thing that when developed and practiced brings happiness.
Yes.
Or does bring happiness, namely, O monks, the mind. The mind, O monks, developed and practiced brings happiness.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you. And I'll now ask if there are any questions about anything we've covered up to now grammatically in this further. I know we covered a large amount of territory, including number 1 first. So if there's any questions that you didn't quite get, the grammar, the syntax, I didn't explain it well, this is your chance to ask. No? Okay. I take that as a compliment. No questions whatsoever. Entirely transparently clear. Simple. Easy peasy. Oh, wait. Uh-oh. Rob, I think you have a question?
Yeah, I think you said that there was a earlier section about 2 sections ago where po was a replacement for a much, much longer. Does that sound familiar?
What was the word?
Po.
Ko.
P-O.
K.
No,
P-O?
Yeah,
I
P-O.
don't know a word P-O.
Okay, maybe it was ko, K-O. But I remember there was a long word that you said was a short form, and it was just a 2-letter word ending with an O. Does that sound familiar?
Yes, he was talking about no.
Oh,
Hakang.
Hakang. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I shouldn't probably have brought it up because it hasn't been covered in our grammar, but this no is a type of personal pronoun which is called enclitic, which means it's a short form, and it's a little bit like the French word notre, our. Must be related. And the full form of the pronoun is hakang, to us or for us. And no would be, so it's important to know that the word no is not just, it's like here, nova, above, means is or not. That's a negator no. But this no is totally different. And it's in fact meaning hakang, or for us. Does that answer your question? Or maybe I should apologize for even bringing up the problem.
Maybe I'll wait until you cover it as a pronoun later. Because
I think that the personal pronouns are covered in book lesson 5. You can look, and this is called an enclitic personal pronoun. But maybe just stick it in your back pocket for now.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And I think we have another question from Jillian.
Thank you, Stephen. Going back to the section on adosa.
Okay.
The Ewan Bante, and then someone says a short sentence beginning with abiapado, and then another sentence beginning with aduto.
Yes.
And then further into that sentence, there is the word abiapanachito.
Yes.
The person who is not malicious.
Right. Without a hating mind.
Without an ailing...
Hating, sorry. Hating. Without a hating mind. This is sort of a literal translation, not a really good translation.
Chita is mind.
Yeah.
Hating is pana.
Well, it's related to abhyapado above.
I missed that.
And so this is abhyapanachito. I'm not exactly sure how it all should be parsed up, to be quite honest.
And I heard you, but I couldn't quite grasp it as we moved on. I thought, say, that the preface was something.
Well, I think I might have said that the prefix generally is a negator. It negates the word. But what I meant was that since dosa or doso is a negative word, right?
Yep.
So negating, it's like a double negative. So negating a negative makes it a positive. So non-hatred is a good thing, right? It's a wholesome mental state.
Yeah.
And so what I guess what I was trying to say is that that's how it's expressed in Pali.
Yes, I know that, but how does it relate to abhyapana chita?
Well, abhyapado or abhyapanachito, these are all sort of nouns or adjectives describing the person who has this quality.
Yep.
So the quality is adoso, non-hatred, we might say, right? And so abhyapado is a noun, which means non-hatred. Right. And then aduto is one without hate.
Yes.
And that the aduto, the noun, is being described further with this next word, abhyanapanachito. It's sort of like an adjective, we could say. So aduto, the one without hate, without a hating mind. See, it's a sort of just another way of expressing essentially the same idea, but with new words.
Okay, thank you.
Does that, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah,
okay.
I think, yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Catherine?
Yes, Stephen.
Yes.
Okay. Just now you mentioned Vijagato,
I think that was later.
person who is non-deluded.
Um,
Stephen mentioned about true knowledge, right?
yes, right. I do remember that. Vija and
Okay, can I
Vijagato.
just use a wise person?
Yes, you can. Sure.
Yeah. Wise person, is it possible?
Yeah. They're all sort of synonymous. They all have the same sense. I was just trying to, when I was explaining Vijagato, trying to explain it in a very literal sense, but not necessarily the only way you have to do it. Yes, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, and I think we have Hui Lin.
Yes, back to earlier, just before Catherine, sorry, I forgot her name. Abia Pardo and Abia Panachito.
Yes.
I have Abia Pardo as non-malice benevolence. So if I put Abia Panachito, could I put it as someone who is benevolent?
Benevolent, yes.
Would that do?
Sure, sure. Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. I think I hope everyone gets it. And now we maybe can look quickly at this very short one, number 3 in our book. So this is a short bit from the Digha Nikaya, perhaps the most famous sutta of them all, in a way, the Mahasatipatthana Sutta. So as you probably or perhaps know, there are 2 of these in the canon in a sense. There's the Satipatthana Sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya. Then there's the Mahasatipatthana Sutta in the Digha Nikaya, which is longer. And it's longer because at the end it has this thing called the Nidesa, which is, the word Nidesa means something like a extended or detailed explanation. And so dukkha satcha nideso means suffering, truth, explanation, or the explanation about the truth of suffering. Of course, that's one of the 4 Noble Truths. So this is like an elaboration, and this, I guess, is not found in the version we find in the Majjhima Nikaya. I'm not sure why, but it doesn't matter for our purposes here. And so it says here, idang kopana bhikkhave dukkhaṃ arya satchaṃ. So arya satchaṃ, there's like whole books written on how one might translate this compound. We might just say noble truth for now. So idang, this, right? This is our pronoun. Kopana bhikkhave, this indeed, O monks, is the noble truth of suffering. So if you ever wondered what the noble truth of suffering was, this is the answer. And so we have jati pi dukkha, jara pi dukkha, vyadi pi dukkha, maranang pi dukkhang, apyehi sampayogo pi dukkho, pyehi vipayogo pi dukkho, yang pichang na labati tang pi dukkhang, sankitena upadana Khanda Pidukkha. Okay. So, what's interesting, and why we have it, because there's something very interesting happening here grammatically, which is that the word dukkha can function either as a noun or an adjective, right? So an adjective, it might be painful. It describes another word, unpleasant. But it also could function as a noun, a neuter noun. Suffering, right? Unsatisfactoriness. So we need that ness to make it an abstract noun. So that's just something to know. So dukkha can be an adjective. It also can be a noun. So here, jati, birth, dukkha. And why does it have this long A? And because the answer is because jati is a feminine noun, birth, is suffering. but this is adjectival, and that's why they match. So they match in the feminine, and the P is 2, and it's setting up like a list, and this first one we wouldn't translate, it's sort of reflected back in that Pali way. Jara piduka, so again, old age, it's feminine, and once again we have the word dukkha in the feminine. And this one is not always found in the text. It seems optional for some reason that I don't quite understand. Vyadi, illness, and I guess it's functioning as feminine because that's what's happening here. Now we have maranang pi dukkang. Death is dukkang. So notice how the adjective has changed form because it's now matching maranang, which is neuter. And so it's matching as a neuter, right? So that's why these forms are shifting, because they have to match because adjectives must match what they describe in case, number, and gender. They're sort of free agents. And then quickly, apyehi sampayogo pidukko. So sampayogo means association, and piehi means dear, and it's negated. So association with what is not dear is also dukkho, suffering. So notice here, sampayogo, nominative masculine, matching as dukkho. Piehi vipayogo pidukko. So here, vipayogo, separation from what is dear. Notice the ablative, I guess, plural, is dukkha. Yang pichang na labati, tung pi dukkang. So here, icha is a noun. It's based on the verb ichati, which we've had, and it's functioning as the accusative. So maybe not to get, not na labati, not to get that which one desires, yang pichang, what one wants, not getting what one wants, the tongue, so this completes the yang, that too is suffering. And then we have a summary, this word sankitena, which looks like instrumental, but it's really indeclinable as far as I can see. It means in brief, or in short, or in summary, in brief. And now we have this very big and philosophical word, but the number 5 is pancha, and it's elided with this big long word, so the A, the short A, drops out to join well with the U in upadana. Upadana has the sense of to take up, to grasp, and khanda is generally translated as an aggregate, and it's in the plural. So in brief, the 5 aggregates subject to clinging, that's generally how it's translated in English, or the 5 aggregates that have been taken up are also dukkha. So notice here that it is a plural, because khanda, there are 5. And so this is nominative plural. Panch upadana khanda pi dukkha. So that's this. We're pretty much out of time. I think we have time for a very quick question or two. And then remember, for next class on Wednesday, we will look at Milinda Panha, and we will be going on to lesson 4. Okay, the question is from Huang.
Yes, could you mind explaining again? Yang pichang na labati tangpi dukkang.
Sure. Yes, so labati is the verb to get, to obtain. It's negated, na labati, not getting. And there's the object here. So that's the accusative, that which, yang. P is just this P that's been occurring over and over again. And ichang is the accusative of the word icha with a long A, which means what one desires for, what one wants. So putting that together, not getting what one wants. Not getting what one wants, we can say. Not getting what one desires. Tongue P, that too is suffering. Does that help?
Yes, and the last sentence.
Sankitena?
Yeah.
Sankitena means in brief or in short, summarizing everything above. Panchupadana Kanda, the 5 aggregates subject to clinging. We could talk about this word maybe next class because it is a very complicated one. But that's what it means. The 5 aggregates taken up, subject to clinging, are also dukkha.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And finally, Cheng or Chung.
Hi, Stephen. Thank you.
Hi.
Just wondering, like, what is it in the versions of Mahasatipatthana Sutta that I have?
Yeah.
I do not see Vyadi Bituka.
Yes, I mentioned that.
Yeah, but it appears in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, and in that version, it's Vyadi Piduko. And I
Yes.
checked the dictionary, Vyadi seems to be masculine.
Yeah, I know. I kind of tried to skip over that quickly because that's what's, I think, given in our text. I don't know why it's being presented here in the feminine. But
Okay.
it's a good question. I think you are right. And I think it should be Vyadi is masculine and it should be Vyadi Piduko. Isn't that what you have?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know why there's that mismatch.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We're a little over the time, but Christopher, you have a question?
Yeah, just quickly with the labati, why is it not labitum? Why is it not infinitive? It seems to be third person singular.
Not getting not getting is not to get. I mean, I'm translating it, I guess, as a infinitive.
Yeah.
But it's expressed in the Pali as a present indicative. One not getting what one wants.
Okay, so it's like third person there. One not getting what one wants. So
Something like that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I think we are out of time. And I know my friend Regina has some quick announcements. I hope she's there somewhere. Regina? Or perhaps she's left the building. Yes, I hear you now.
I am here. I was on mute and I forgot to unmute myself. So yes, I do have some announcements, and I want to say once again, you all are just amazing to me. Wow, I can't even keep up. It's almost like you guys are on the path to fluency. I'm so impressed. But with that being said, I do have some announcements. I want to announce that if you've not yet registered for Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi's Abhidhamma retreat that is taking place the first weekend, I believe, of September, there are still a few slots. It is a dedicated retreat despite being online, so it does take commitment. But if it's something you're interested in, you might want to check that out soon on the BAUS website, baus.org. And if you feel compelled to do so or would like to do so, you can also donate to the Chuangyin Monastery on that website. And finally, just a reminder that Venerable Bodhi has Sutta study class every Saturday beginning at 9:30 in the morning, and you are all welcome to attend.
New York City time, New York time,
Yes,
East Coast time.
you.
Right. Thank you, Regina.
You are so welcome.
All right. Well, thank you all for your time and attention and staying over a couple of minutes. I appreciate it. And we'll be back in a couple of days to continue on with, that will be already class 14. It's like we're ending a whole semester. And I hope you continue to enjoy and study. And now you know all about direct speech. Like, it's great. That's direct speech. Okay. See you next time. Have a great day. Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.